Welcome, Virgo, to your Virgo annual 2022 calendar year reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, for those of you who are stopping by for the first time, and I hope to see you again if you do. Now, what I will mention that a number of people ask me if I do personal reading. The answer is yes. Just check out the information that's in the description box below. Now I'm going to draw 12 cards, right? One for each month of the year. But I do encourage you to make sure that you check out your monthly, in-depth monthly reading, okay? And you'll find that on the playlist in my channel. And what I do is I put the current month and I put the month that's just before it. So you'll have no difficulty in finding it. If it's any older than that, I just delete it so it doesn't get cluttered up. Let's have a look. See what's in the first 6 months. The Moon, the Three of Swords, the Ten of Swords. I'm glad they're together. The Ten of Wands, the Nine of Coins, and the Four of Swords. And in the back half of the year, you'll see this again. As I say, I can't stress enough how much I do encourage you to look at your monthly reading, because time is against us with the annual reading. We need to whip through things fairly quickly, whereas we do deal with, as the subscribers know, we do deal with the cards because they have so much that they want to tell us. We do deal with them in a lot more detail in the month. But as I say, time is against us, and I know that at this time of year you're busy, and so I want to keep this to a manageable length to you. Boy, you've really got it all happening in this second half of the year as well. Fantastic. The Knight of Coins, the Emperor, the Empress, the Pope, the Sun, and the Two of Coins. Well, why don't you come sit down here next to me? We'll have a look at the artwork together. I might point out with my pen some of the interesting things in the paintings as I see it, which I think you'll enjoy, and I'll do the reading for you. Then now I think you should be able to see those. Let's go first to this card of the Moon in January. Now the art is very important in this deck for giving you the unlocking within you the psychic, almost from the sense of universal consciousness as to what is going to go on. Now, so I might point out different things in the paintings as we go along. Well, here, shadows play over a scene which is lit only by the moon. Now here, this is, look at this creature here. That is Anubis, the Egyptian god of the death. And he is in the form of an elegant violet dog at the foot of a tower. Now across from him, a wolf. Now you might make out the wolf here in this sort of silver color. That wolf howls to the moon. Now on the tower, on the left up here, you might see that there is an astrologer on the top of that from the time, and on the top of this thing here is Galileo's telescope. Now the moon itself has quite masculine features, but I see the moon as being feminine. Now for me, this is Neptune, the watery planet of Neptune in Pisces, with Venus exalted. And you might be asking yourself at this time, are things reality or are they just an illusion? Pisces is very much associated with the subconscious. And so it's fitting, therefore, that the moon should be involved, because the moon very much is that beneath the surface here. And Pisces is also associated with intuition and artistry, so I think they'll be very highly developed for you in this time. Now for me, this is the last of the major arcana that I assign a zodiac sign to. Now Neptune's depths, they are associated with dreams, with visions, and the imagination, and so it links in well with the qualities of the moon. You may think, however, that there's some wrong turns that you take. Something seems there are secrets, I think, that you will find revealed to you. You will uncover secrets or find out some very juicy gossip, I have to say here. There's also work going on in your subconscious, and you're bringing things to the surface, crossing the threshold to new levels of consciousness here. Beware of deception during this period. But I do think that you'll have increased psychic ability, and you may have some psychic experiences. Then what takes us into February? Let's have a look to see what happens. Some of these energies might merge across the months, you know, and that's just the feeling that I'm getting with your spread today. Now, isn't this an interesting painting here? I particularly enjoy the artwork on this deck, I have to say. Now, what do we have here? A young man is being sent away by his family. The child, the little girl there, and the baby have the eyes of the father, symbolizing the I Ching triagram, I think, which is Tsen, Kan, and Ken, which is the first, second, and third son, respectively. Now, the young man has eyes like his mother. Now, he's carrying a bag here with him. In this bag here, there are coins. And in this bag here, there's a prostitute. I'll get to it in just a second as to what I think the meaning of this is here. Now, there's also what I think here. You might ask yourself, what are these characters that are on the hilts of these particular swords? I think this is a reference to the different fools that occur in other decks, you know. I think that this first one is the Tarot de Marseille Fool. I think that the second one is the Tarot of Visconti Forza, and this is the Tarot de Mantegna Fool. And here is acorns and a pig. Now, I think that the scene here is in reference to the story of the prodigal son. Have you heard of the story of the prodigal son? That's a parable that was contained in that is contained in the Christian work, the Gospel according to Luke, and I'm pretty sure it's chapter 15, verses 11 through to 32. What happened there was that a father, now there was no mother or other children involved, there was only two sons. The father said to both of the sons, "Do you want your inheritance now or do you want to wait till after I die?" This guy said, "I'll have it now." And what he did was, he went off and he spent all the money on drinking and girls, hence the money and the figure of the prostitute in this bag here, and he became broke. Now, that book, of course, the Gospels and the New Testament are all Jewish works, of course, early Christian, but nevertheless Jewish. And so for them, the pig was an unclean animal, and he was reduced, because of the fact that he had spent all his money, to feeding pigs with acorns, which was a very, very low form of life and made him unclean. Anyway, he went back to his father and he found that he was forgiven by the father and welcomed back into the family. Yeah, a really interesting picture there. Make sure that you can see them. This is Saturn in the second decan of Libra, at 3rd to the 12th of October. Now, Saturn is exalted in Libra, and so you might expect really good things. But there's also, for me, associated with the number 3, Saturn associated there as well. So there is a double dose of Saturn. Now, as you may know, Saturn is associated with limits, restrictions, time, form, and formality, and in the suit of swords, things can be particularly difficult. So what we think here is that you may be having some worries or doubts about yourself, things that you may have a lack of clarity, a heaviness. This is brought in by Saturn. Now, incidentally, this is all sorted out throughout the magnificent cards here. But of course, all of us have periods of up and down. There may be some mental anguish that you're going through because it's a suit of swords. You might find or hear of the ending or parting of a relationship. Now, Saturn applies its hard lessons on Libra's desire for relationships, you know, and sorrow can sometimes be a natural event that most people have to go through at some point. But Libra, and I remember this is Saturn in the second decan of Libra, Libra is all about balance, and it's also about justice, and I think that this is what's coming through for you at this time. Bit of a period of downtime, but you get through it. And why do I say you get through it? Because we have this card here, and let's have a look at it. Where are we? Turning first to the artwork, we can see here 10 swords geometrically arranged. There are, at the top of the hilts of these swords, there's a bunch of guys with daggers dripping from blood. Do you know what I think that refers to? I think that refers to the assassination of Julius Caesar outside the steps of the Senate on the Ides of March in 44 BC, where he was set upon by other senators and murdered. Now, this is a graveyard scene here. First of all, there are chrysanthemums around here. They are graveyard flowers. These people here, there's 1, 2, and on the third down wailing on the ground in black. They are hired mourners. In those days, in Renaissance periods, people used to pay people to come and wail and weep and gnash their teeth at the death of someone. And here is the Lord of Flies, the demon, the beast, the unclean one, Satan, and the fly deposits its eggs on the rotting corpses. Now, ordinarily, one might think that this is a bad card, and in some respects it can be in some spreads, but what's very important for me are the energies overall and the placements of cards and energies with each other. It's followed by this 4 of Swords, and it comes completely after the 3. So this is telling me that this downheartedness, or maybe lack of belief in yourself, is actually being overcome during this period. It's not a negative card in this spread. Now, the 10 here is associated with, mystically, the divine emanation, the world, the universe, space, and matter. And I think what happens is that this mental realm that you've been wandering around in and saying, oh, I might feel a bit morose, you come back down to ground. Those mental thoughts of anguish go away from you and you move on. The 10, of course, is, you see, what happens is that the metaphorically, the divine spirit winds its way in order through all of the cards of the tarot and through all of the numbers of them. And when it gets to the 10 in a suit, in a world, air is the third world. The first world is that of fire. The second world is that of water. The third world is that of air, where we are now. And this 10 of Swords is very unstable. The 10 is unstable because the energy is about to go into the fourth world, the world of matter. And that, of course, will be the Ace of Coins and great prosperity for you. So whatever was concerning you during that period, it will be resolved and done with by that time. And my analysis of your situation there is only reinforced by this card here, which is the 4 of Swords. And let's have a look at it now for you, shall we? Now, what an interesting painting is this? What can I make of this? Well, I think a warrior, a former warrior, has renounced the world and he seeks refuge in a hermit's hut that he has made for himself using, what would you call this material? I don't know anything about. Is that burlap? Maybe the ladies know more about material. I certainly know more about it than I do. I say that's burlap, and of course the thing is being almost like the tent is being the frame of which are the 4 swords themselves. Now he wears a simple white robe fastened with a rope that's knotted 4 times for the 4 vows of poverty, chastity, obedience, plus a 4th, a secret vow. Now, what's also fascinating is that on the palms of his hands, you might be able to see here, see how there's blood coming from the center of the palms of his hands? Well, in Christian tradition, that's known as the stigmata. It's a replication of the wounds that were on the Christ's hands as nails were driven through his palms, as the tradition has it, into the cross. And so it shows great spiritual awareness. And you do have the divine energy looking after you during this period. You have the divine on your side. Now his posture with his hands open and his face to the sky is ecstatic, like that of what I assume over here, you see this little figure here? I think that could be St. Francis of Assisi, the one who loved all the animals all the time. So he has that association with that saint as well, because he kneels by a small hut in the background, and in front of the hermit, not the hermit as in the major arcana, but this particular hermit, is a bowl of water. And what would that be? That looks like a mandrake root, and I'd say that's all he subsists on, just mandrake roots and water. Now, this is particularly fortunate for you because this is Jupiter, this time in the third decan of Libra, that 14th to the 22nd of October. Now, Libra, as we hinted at, tries to find balance in your life, and the need for balance can sometimes induce unrest. Now, I've got to tell you that sometimes Libra can induce indecisiveness. Maybe you may not be able to make up your mind about something, but Jupiter will give you a period of rest from a difficult situation. Do you see what's come through here? So you've got the rest from that now. That's been done away with. Things are moving forward very quickly, I can tell you. I don't want to give too much away yet. But it also opens your higher mind's flexibility, which is needed to resolve conflicts in your life. And Jupiter allows you to move on. So you'll be calm, centered, have a great degree of clarity. I think there's going to be some spiritual cleansing involved here, expansion, recuperation from things which have been a problem for you, I think. And what I would also say is the case is that there might be agreements reached. And maybe it also says that you might perhaps need to go and take a break. Maybe take a couple of days off, go and have a dirty weekend or something like that. What do we have here? We have the 9 of coins. Now, in this painting, there is a path which is running through something of a garden, I would assume. Now, on these coins, on these 9 coins, they are just goats' heads for some reason. I don't think that has anything to do with it. It's not a reference to anything there. I think it's just artistic license. Here is a ring, and here is a man looking back. Perhaps he has lost the ring. Perhaps he's walked past and thought that looked like just a stone or something, and he's considering to himself, wait a minute, was that something which is actually more important? This figure here to me, well, this is reminiscent, I've got to say, of the protagonist in the 9 of coins in the Rider-Waite deck. Here is I'd say it's a woman who's opened up her umbrella ready for this rainstorm that's coming in here. Now, what this is actually about is Venus ruling the 2nd decan of Virgo. Venus in Virgo. The 2nd decan is the 3rd to the 12th of September. Now, Venus is concerned with love, relationship, and money. And these are both expressions of your values, pleasures, tastes, and so on, aren't they? And Venus is saying that if your heart is pure and you follow your heart, your life can only gain from this, and good fortune will attend your material affairs. So there's growth here, gain. Good love bonds, I think. Really good bonds of love and relationship around here. Wisdom, creativity, and understand this at this time, that the more you give, the more you receive. 10 of Wands. Well, let's have a look at this. Come here, 10 of Wands. Thank you. Now, what's happening in this painting here? Well, it looks to me like there are 2, see there's the red hats that they're wearing, 2 merchants with mules that are really overflowing with gold and wares, and waiting for them along this path as I would say, yes, 10 bandits by the look of it, holding 10 clubs that are reinforced with iron rings. You see these iron rings at the base of the clubs? So what does that say to me? Well, I think let's look at the astrology of it first. I think what we can definitely say is this is, I think, well, it's Saturn. Saturn ruling the third decan of Sagittarius, the 13th to the 22nd of December. Now, Sagittarius wants to expand and express its optimism and spiritual side. And as we saw before, Saturn can be all about restriction, and so that it represses the expansive nature of Sagittarius. I think what we're going to find here is that you may find that there is the case where there could be some obstinacy associated with things, because Saturn is material, slow, heavy, and these guys are here in attack. Now, there's no physical attack which is going to occur upon you. But I think what there is here is maybe repressed feelings, or you holding energy back. I think you might feel overburdened by things, or as if you have taken on too much. And you give so much, don't you? It's very difficult for you to say no to people because you're a very giving person. You might be feeling the pressure. You might feel as if there is no control over circumstances, or you might feel as if you are a victim of your own success. Do you know, the Sagittarian readiness really to communicate is blocked by Saturn. And there might be some fear around here. You might begin to repress your own impulses. You might feel that your strength, your vitality, and your life energy cannot be expressed. Yeah. But you will do it, though. This card is an invitation to you, really. Recognize and end your repression and restriction of your own life impulses. Because this is a step towards taking responsibility for yourself and freeing yourself from what are really unjustifiable moral restrictions and limitations. Let's have a look here. This looks like an interesting card. Fascinating. But any feelings of not being able to express yourself fully are definitely overcome as you do, because you're so smart and you're strong. And by this time, of course, it's like a new world for you here. This to me looks like the old explorer Marco Polo, who rides a sturdy horse with a strong bit. He gazes out over the fabulous empire of Cat-Eye beyond the Great Wall of China. Now, under his arm, his right arm, he holds a coin, and it is emblazoned with a tortoise. Now, I've got to say off the top that I think that sun or rising of Taurus or Aries is going to be very important to you here. He is, for me, the prince of the chariot of earth. You will, at this time, be competent, hardworking, reliable, very ambitious, I think, energetic. You'll be a capable and steadfast worker. You'll be slow to anger, but look out if you have been enraged. You'll have a mastery of structure and of detail, design. Now, this design doesn't mean just making bridges. It could refer to makeup, hair, fashion, making things around the home, doing things around the garden. But you'll have great energy in dealing with the material things. You'll be unshakable. I think you'll be quite cautious with things. And I think there's physical activity in mind for you here. The other thing that I'd say to you at this time here is that it's important, and this is a thing which is coming through me for this whole spread of yours, just to make sure that you do keep an eye on your health at all times, and make sure that the advice that you receive from any doctors is sensible, and that you have a good relationship with the doctor. And if you don't have a good relationship with the doctor, then find somebody else with whom you can open yourself and how your body feels and what it might need. Well, now we turn to the Emperor, and many of the details in this painting here point to the Emperor's rank as supreme ruler of the elements. Now, the awesome and potentially destructive powers of the four elements are represented by pictures of apocalyptic landscapes showing winds for air, lava coming out of a volcano for earth, buildings on fire for fire, and a ship being lost at sea there. But the platform and its symbols represent the elemental chaos which the emperor rules and puts to order. Now, the yellow cube, which you can see in here, on which he sits, and there's a very lovely red cape or material, which is a fiery red robe around there. Well, they are the colors of power and activity. Now, this emperor's armor here, I'm pretty sure I went to a museum in Prague in the Czech Republic many years ago, and it's very reminiscent of the armor that was sitting on top, the effigy of the Emperor Rudolf of Habsburg, who was, I think around the 1300s or something like this. Now, he wears a large hat which is lined in, well, what's that fur called? Ladies, is that ermine? Is there such a, am I getting that right? Is there such a fur called ermine that's there? And his crown has, pyramids, and it's also decorated with the imperial eagle that's there. Now, on his breast are the signs of the sun and of the moon. Now, the tulip is down here, and the tulip actually turns up in cards like the Fool and the Magician, but those energies don't really relate to him there. I think the artists have just put them in there. And over here, he's holding as a scepter a wand, which is that of a lily, and at the bottom of it, it looks like there is a crescent moon as the handle. Well, I call him the son of the morning, the chief among the mighty. Now, I think what will be apparent to you during this period is that there's a lot of Aries around here. I'll say it's Mars ruling Aries with the sun exalted in it, so it's a very high energy card for you. You'll be primarily concerned with maybe power or control over other people or yourself. But that great Aries energy that's there, it's going to make you almost like a pioneer. It's going to give you the desire to go out and discover new things or new experiences. I have to tell you that you'll have very good leadership ability during this time, and other people are going to look to you as a leader. You'll be a great initiator. I think you'll have a great degree of creative wisdom, great leadership qualities. There'll be an urge for action with you at this time, and an adventurousness. Sometimes you might think, am I adventurous enough? Well, this is a time when you are going to be taking adventure, because there's new beginnings here, and you'll have a great degree of authority. Things that are going to be important to you are order, structure, the established way of doing things. You'll be very ambitious, I think. Law and order, I'm just getting that as something that's going to be important to you. You will be taking a stand in relation to something. You're going to be firm with yourself and firm with other people. And it's quite possible that if you're in an organization, you could receive a promotion, or if you're working around the home or you spend a lot of time at home, you might be taking on things which challenge the way you've been doing things before. And this could be moving into new areas such as, cooking, cuisine, cooking, things around the home. You might even change your look, is what I'm getting here. Fashion, hairstyles, things like that. Strange with the Emperor, I know, but anyway, the energy is what it is, and I pass on what I get. Now, well, probably one of my favorite women in the tarot is the Empress, who we have here and who you have drawn. Now, the Empress sits majestically on a throne whose back forms a Gothic arch, really. Do you see how there's this Gothic arch that's being formed up there? And a clear blue sky that's through it. That's important to you because it's blue skies ahead for you at this time. Now, on her head is a crown with Well, with 9 stars, just quickly counting them, and what we have here, and the 9 muses, for music, poetry, and science, and 12 stars for the 12 houses of the zodiac, I would suggest. Now, her gown is red for passion, and it's tempered by cool blue which flows around her like fertile waters. Now, she holds her shield here, which you can see, which is emblazoned with the imperial eagle, and in her left hand is a scepter, which is topped with an orb. Most interestingly, I think if you look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things there, and then there's another 1, 2, 3. Going from left to right and then up the top there, I think that they are representations of, they show the 7 liberal arts, left to right, of grammar, logic, rhetoric, geometry, arithmetic, music, and poetry. And then up here we go philosophy, astrology, and theology. Now, at her feet is a crescent moon and a lily at the side on the throne itself for purity, beauty, and love in your life. A motherliness. Now, you could well have. This can apply to both men and women. I think that you may be having dealings with one or both parents. You may be acting as a parent to someone else, or you may be acting as a parental figure to somebody else. There's also femininity here, and it's a reminder for you to really develop your feminine side. Now, the men watching this, do not be concerned, because all of us, myself included, have a feminine side. It's just that the masculine side prevails, you see, and the converse is true for women. They have a masculine side. It's just that the females' attributes predominate. There's wisdom here, connection between spirit and matter, inner and outer wealth, a great degree of fertility around the card during this period. That could be a physical fertility, pregnancy, adding to the family, or it could be the generation of ideas, projects, and creativity. This is about fulfilling your potential during this time, and I have to say, there are opportunities coming up in social and business fields which have great potential for you. Well, here we have the Pope. A jovial face augments the benevolence of the Pope. His hair is white and his face is lined with experience. Now, his right hand is raised in a blessing, isn't it? And in his left hand is a staff with the symbols of the 7 classical planets, being the Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and down here is the thunderbolt of Saturn. These 2 columns here, they're really reminiscent of the columns. I was at one time in the Cathedral of St. Peter's in the Vatican in Rome, and these are just replicas of the pillars that held up the canopy over the main altar that's there. Now, what's also interesting here is that I'm looking at these. Can you see these things? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there 7 there? I really think they are depictions of the 7 vices, which are pride, because there's a peacock there; wrath, people fighting; lust, there's a woman having sex; gluttony, someone eating food there; envy, sloth, and a dromedary showing avarice. The Pope triumphs over the sins of the world, and 2 monks kneel really, one on either side of the platform, and the angle of this platform and his throne actually seems to be moving forward to us, doesn't it? And I think that's talking about symbolizing the mercy and receptiveness to the needs of others. Now, I call him the Magus of the eternal gods. Now, this is saying to me that this is a time for you to follow rules, regulations, and traditions in your life. Don't go creating any revolutions, either socially, financially, or anything. Go with the flow on things here. This is Venus ruling Taurus with the moon exalted in this card. And Taurus is the fixed sign of Earth. So it's very immutable, and this is what you should do. It's one of your sister signs, Taurus, of course. Now, this could also be a period of intense learning for you, not by way necessarily of a college education, but probably just finding out things on the internet. You might just get into a subject that you really want to know about. You could be getting into recipes. You could be getting into... I'm just getting the feeling of you digging around in the internet to really get into the position of something. It's very good for people who are in large organizations such as the public service. There's a group identity here. It's about learning and teaching. I think you'll be very good at listening and speaking. And I do think that people are going to be coming to you to give them advice because you'll have a very good understanding of other people's headspace. Yeah, so let's see what there is here. And we're coming up to what? The sun. Okay. Oh, I love this. What great energy for you this is. What fantastic things you have coming through you for all of this year. Actually, this might be your best year ever. Well, what do we have here? A white horse bears a young boy and a girl. The boy is, I think, Hercules, and he carries the sun over his head, while the girl, she holds a distaff. Now you see this little thing poking out the back there? That's what the little girl is holding. Now, the white horse is a symbol of that which serves love, and it dances in a circle of flowers as if they come from paradise itself. Now, over on the left here is a lyre. That's L-Y-R-E, a musical instrument, and that is symbolic of the sun god Apollo. And that's leaning on the wall. And on the other side here, I notice, is an egg. And I would say that that is recalling the virtue and love of the twin brothers Castor and Pollux, who were born from an egg. And this sturdy wall actually encloses the scene. The Lord of the Fire of the Word, this is astrologically, naturally, very much associated with the sun, and esoterically with the Egyptian sun gods, and also with that sun god Apollo. Now, this is something that brings you strength, intelligence. It's a turning point in here. This is an energy that will get you through any tough times. The sun will illuminate your path forward after what might be a trying time. Embrace your goals at this time and give it everything you've got. If you have had what you think might be running up to this some tough times, then things will be getting bigger. Now, be like these children again. Remove any layers of negativity that have built up through you over the time. Remember, this is a period here now where you can move mountains. It's a yes. Riches, marriages around here, success, good fortune, optimism, and happiness. And this takes us finally to the Two of Coins. Now, looking at this painting, I think, well, before I just say what I think this relates to, this is the Triumph of Mercury. That coin is the Triumph of Mercury. This is a library with a quill and an ink pot. Now, there's a naked woman here looking at a glass and two old men spying upon her. This is reminiscent to me, and clearly it's meant to be, the story of Susanna and the Elders. Now, that is a scriptural work that is contained in Catholic and Orthodox Bibles, but you won't find it in the Hebrew Bible, nor will you find it in Protestant Bibles. What happened was, Susanna was married to a much older and wealthier man. In the afternoons, she would go and have a bath with her slave girl. One afternoon, she dismissed her slave girl because she wanted to be alone, and she took her bath as usual. These two lecherous guys came down upon her, of course, and they'd always been looking upon her while she was naked and thinking God knows what. Anyway, they decided this time to approach her, which they did, and they confronted her and said, "Look, you must have sex with us, otherwise we're going to tell everybody that you were having sex with a youth in the garden here." and you will be tried for adultery and executed. Well, of course, she declined to do so. Anyway, when it turned out that she was tried, there was a young boy called Daniel. Now, this is the same Daniel that you do find in the legendary author of the book of Daniel that's in pretty well everyone's Christian and Hebrew Christian Bibles. But this was Daniel as a kid, and of course he was smart, and he said, listen, we need to try something. Take these two old men and have them questioned separately. And they were asked, because they said that the youth and she were having sex under a tree, they were asked, what tree was it? One of the old guys said it was a small sort of tree of one type. The other guy said it was a huge tree of another type. And so clearly they were lying, and their false testimony led to their death, and her reputation and honor was restored. That's what that is about. Now, astrologically, this is the Lord of harmonious change. It's Jupiter ruling the first decan of Capricorn, another one of your sister signs here. Now, although you might potentially think that's inharmonious, because Jupiter is all about expansion and Capricorn is about conservatism and practicality, but because we're so high up on the tree here, we're at the number 2, just next to the ace, I don't think there's a difficulty there. I think what you'll find during this time is that there is lots of movement and flux and growth through change. There'll be some ups and downs, but you'll be multitasking, and I think you could have something of a heavy workload. You'll have a lot on in December, but you'll be enjoying what it is that you are doing. Lots of change, lots of transformation. There's nothing materially set in stone at the moment, so there's no disasters looming for financial or material affairs. Just a really good month. Well, that's the way it is for you this year. Well, I thought that was fascinating, didn't you? It looks like you're going to have a fantastic year ahead of you, probably your best year ever, if I'm any judge of these things. Oh, I think you've got everything going for you, and so you should have too. Now remember, I want to see you in the monthly readings, so don't miss out on those. They're far more in depth than what we've just done now. But until then, remember one thing, and remember it always, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Until then, it's bye for now.